Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, where there'll be no intro today, as for whatever reason, OBS decided to act on it. But I would like to wish you a happy and peaceful and profitable start to your Friday morning over here from a very hot Helsinki, Finland. It's going to be 20 degrees Celsius today for the Americans out there who speak Fahrenheit. That's actually, I don't even know what it is anymore. I think I've been fully integrated into the Eurozone now. Anyways, I do have a couple announcements to make before we actually get into it. I've decided to close all my direct messages on Discord. I apologize if the an inconvenience for anyone out there, but I really had to make a decision between focusing on what I'm doing here and having enough time for that, and also answering Discord messages, which is just not really where I find the most enjoyment. And realistically, you know, I want to be a part of the Discord, like the general communities, which I believe that this will give me more time to kind of do that instead of just being bogged down in direct messages all day. You know, it's about the whole rather than just, you know, individual parts, I suppose, at this point. And so again, I do apologize if that's an inconvenience for anyone out there, but please understand that that's just the way that I have to do it right now in order for my life to make more sense, in order for me to keep on doing what I really enjoy and I've been doing here. So with that said, what else do I want to say? Is there anything else to say? It's Friday. It's Friday. Happy Friday, my friends. Also have a new gaming channel. If you're interested in such things, definitely go check it out. It's at Total Krown. If you're not interested in gaming, definitely do not go check it out. You're not obligated to do anything like that. And of course, I don't want to ever feel like I'm forcing anyone to do anything. But hey, if that sounds like you, if you like strategy gaming, especially, then definitely go check it out, because I've been having a shit ton of fun over there, and I've been uploading just about every day. And not going to talk about Bitcoin over there, but you know, getting all my hobbies on a channel is essentially where I want to be. So with that said, let's go take a look at the Krown Chain application over here, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. It's free. Take advantage of it. It's all good, or maybe it's not all good, but I found it to be pretty damn good. And what do we see here? We see that the open interest is still hanging around the $850 million marker, which tells me that we still haven't seen the big confirmation of a new phase shift, even though I was looking at 9100 as a good higher term time frame region to be looking at. I don't believe that that's I believe with it breaking that area last night, that does offer up a short and medium term time frame trade, but it does not resolve the higher term time frame just yet. I need to see open interest move with price action plus volume to really confirm the next sort of phase. And I still believe that as long as we are caught between the $800 million marker and about the 950 million, perhaps even $1 billion marker, we don't really have that next era of price action, if you will, on the higher and perhaps even macro timeframes. So with that said, that's still kind of, you know, making me a little bit backing off on making any sort of major moves here to cover up my own trading activities from yesterday. I did, or my covers, I guess, are just working as intended right now, and I'll let them expire today, and then I'll just probably put them on again using lower strikes, probably around the 8,500-ish region, the next major pivot to the downside, which we'll get into a little bit later. On top of that, Bitcoin dominance more or less the same at 66.5%. Remember, this is going to be the weekly close for CME, so we'll probably see how spot price action closes for the weekend as well. So if we do close around this region, I would still remain overall bullish on it on the long term, which does mean that I'm looking for altcoins to get hurt versus Satoshis. Probably not versus US dollar if Bitcoin benefits versus the US dollar. But of course, if Bitcoin falls versus the US dollar, then they're going to lose on both ends, very, very likely. On the whole, you know, there's going to be, you know, an outlier here or there. Maybe it's Link, maybe not. Typically it's Link, but on the whole, you know, that's what I'd be looking for. Crypto fear and greed index ticking down to a 42 right now, so still staying within the lightly fearful zone, but still, we haven't really seen a change of behavior here. And for what is still an uptrend on basically all time frames up to a 3-day, I would say that is interesting to see us get in or kind of maintain in the greedy zone. I'm curious to see how this operates over the weekend, but for right now, that's really all I have to say about that. So let's move on into the actual price action itself. Starting off with the daily on, I think we're looking at Stamp right here. Bitcoin actually even did break below the 20-minute exponential moving average yesterday, but I want to follow up on the shorter term time frames, because that's what we were tracking yesterday. And we did say that if Bitcoin broke, 9,400 right here on a 4-hour dildo closure, or even a 2-hour dildo closure, then that would transact that next move down to 9,100-ish region, of which we did get. However, bounce was very anemic right here. Tried a few times to maintain, and actually trying right now, as you can see, but overall did head down to the 4-hour support down around about 8,800-ish region. So, you know, that to me doesn't, you know, It's tradable, yes. I did not really trade it myself. I just kept my short calls and covered up my long stock from 8,200. However, after we broke below 9,100, I did get rid of my longs, or I keep on calling it long stock, my long coins, I guess, and just and I'm just gonna let my my premium expire, pretty much worthless here. So I'm flat. I'm not really interested in doing anything as it is right now, especially heading into a weekend right now. But looking at our lower term timeframes and following up on the Mexican chart right here, I would say that overall, it's a little bit, the downside is hey, wrong one right there. Let me adjust this right here. Hey, again, damn it. Now I'm just making drawings. Something like this is what I'd be looking at. And overall, I still do look at this as the big pivot for the downside at about 8,600, our last local low right there. But keep in mind, with the price action of yesterday, we actually did destroy a little bit of a higher low structure, perhaps on the daily. Although, you can still make a little bit of an excuse for it. However, the non-excuse area is still below about 8,600 to 8,700-ish region. As long as Bitcoin's closing, 4 hours, 12-hour and daily dollars above there, I do think that is a little bit premature to be looking for like some significant downside. And when I say significant downside, I mean like $1,000 plus. I do believe that if Bitcoin were to break below 8,600 on a higher term time frame closure, I would be looking for price action to ultimately come back down, very likely to low 7,000s with bounces along the way. As we were saying yesterday, bounce territories at about 8,100 is where I'd be looking towards, then 7,500 and then 7,100. And then I do think that it would have a chance to probably bottom out somewhere right around there, if that were to even initiate in the first place. But right now, as you can see, Bitcoin bouncing off of the long-term trend line, the long-term support trend line coming in from our March 13th lows at 4,400, which so far has held up, I suppose. But as you can see, Bitcoin now getting caught below this blue box right here at about 9,100, the same sort of initiation area from yesterday. So that offers up the same short-term dynamic as we were looking at yesterday as well. Although the move happened so damn fast that it wasn't, for me, it wasn't really like tradable in the moment. I just took action on my former positions. But if Bitcoin does retake this area, especially even closes like a 2-hour or especially a 4-hour dildo above 9,150-ish region, I would be looking for another test back up to 9,400-ish region. And same sort of short-term price action right there. Might actually sneeze, so just give me a second. And we could even actually move that down just a little bit, and we'll have the same dynamic going on as we had over this past week. I know these ranges are getting very small here, which personally I don't like trading. If not for like very, 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 very short-term scalps, but I do believe that we could, essentially apply the same sort of logic as if Bitcoin were to retake 9,150, I would look essentially for a move back up to 93. I know that there's not that much meat on the bones right there, but above 93, that's where things get interesting once again, as I would look for a move back up to about 97, 9,800-ish region, test the topside blue box, which has just provided the impetus for rejection. So those are still the major areas, still 9,800 on a higher term time frame closure. To the downside, about 8,600 if you want to be super conservative, 8,500 for the next big move to the downside if that were to happen. Right now, I'm just looking at short-term time frame ranges right here to be 100% directly clear. Again, mediated by the 9,150-ish region, 9,300, and then this one actually does have some nice edge right here. For some nice scalpy behavior, but for right now, I'm completely flat. For 100% transparency, I'm completely flat. I have no position, and I don't intend to have a position here until I really see a break of the greater range. Now, this area is so wedged into this formation that I do think it's a little bit premature. Or sorry, it would be. Just from my particular perspective, I'd rather wait for price action to confirm above one of these major levels because we're so damn close to them. And it's suggesting a resolution on this sooner rather than later. So I'd rather just be patient with that and play the bigger move. Because if we do head up to the upside above about 9,800, I would be looking for extension for another at least $700 move. And personally speaking, if that were to close anywhere above this blue box right here at about 10,500 on even a 4-hour, or even just take out the prior high of early February at about 10.5 even, then I would look for extension for another $1,000 up to the 786 Fibonacci retracement, also up to our major resistance area coming in from the last major highs that we've seen in this region, seen best on perhaps a weekly right here. Yes, indeed. See that our last couple highs coming in all the way from January of 2018 in this region. Also going to be the CME gap, as you can see as well. If you go down to a daily, you can see it right here. There it is. It's more so along the 786. You can see right there, and yes, that would be very tradable in my opinion. By the same token, if Bitcoin does break to the downside below this 8,600 level, which we are closer to right now, it's technically you're more likely to break in the direction of the one that you're more close to, although this still does have some things going for it. But if we were to break below 8,600, I think at the very least 7,500 would be the next major bounce area. Perhaps even 7,100 becomes the next major area. I think that both are equally kind of as valid, so I'd want to keep an open mind going into that. But 8,600 is where that kind of all hinges upon, because remember, that is our higher term time frame, or at least our daily higher low structure right here. The second that we break below 8,600, now we have a downtrend, and yes, while the 55 probably would be coming in around there, and it probably would bounce on the first pass, I would be looking to sell that bounce. That would really dictate a difference in my own trading behavior. For right now, does Bitcoin set in a higher low here alongside our long-term support here? I think it's very possible, especially with lower term time frame momentum oscillators turning back up or looking to turn back up. At least if we go into the 4 hour right here, we do see they're getting a little bit beat up, although they will still remain to the downside, and they won't cross back up to the upside until Bitcoin gets back above 90.50 on a 4 hour closing basis. For the 3 hour, we see it's actually up right now. Coming in from the very low side, and it will remain to the upside as long as we're above 8,900-ish region. And the 3 hour looks a lot more like a local low here. It's very likely to try a short-term rally back up to like 93, I would say, somewhere around there, give or take about $50. So at this price point, that's like what, a $300 trade. Something like that looks fine to me. 2 hour is up as well, coming in, or sorry, will stay to the upside as long as we are above 90.50 on a 2 hour closing basis. This one just started, by the way. And hourly showing similar things to the 3 hour. It's up as well, and will remain to the upside as long as we are above 89.50-ish region. So I do think that Bitcoin's going to try to set in it is going to set in a higher low here, very, very likely. But the question is, how far does this rally get on the other side? Does it get back above 9,300? If it does, then I would look to extend that quite a bit, back up to 97, 98. By the same token, if Bitcoin does lose its footing here and heads back down below and closes, especially like a 4 hour below, even 8,700 would probably do it for me, even though I've been saying 8,600. 87 probably gets it right anyways. I'd be looking for massive continuation of the downside. I mean, we'd just have we'd have lower lows and lower highs, fucking downtrend. But at the end of the day, right now it does look like bulls are going to still have a little bit of a chance here. I think I was a little bit too premature and wrong yesterday when saying that 9,100 was a big level. Yes, 9,100 was a level, but it was more so for the medium-term timeframes rather than the higher-term timeframes. That being broken did meet the next target destination down to like the 8,700-ish region, or I guess we got down to 88 on BitMexico. Close enough at that price point. And now it does certainly call into question the efficacy of the rally. You really wanted to see a liftoff sooner rather than later in this region right here. But to be fair, for right now, it is still trying to put in a higher low. So I would respect it until told otherwise by price action. We also do see that historical volatility percentile is still contracting here. So it's looking like the long-term read on this was the right read on this one. And this one has actually been massively helpful. This trend line that we had in for the last few days has gotten all of the spikes on both the upside and the downside, calling this spike right here, saying that this was the high of this rally, calling this spike right here, calling this the high of the rally, and then again spiking up to this trend line on those last couple tests down to this trend line right here. So I do think that we're going to continue to consolidate in this region and look for a breakout somewhere around here, which would be the 27th or 28th of this month. So less than a week. Sometime, or I'm looking at my calendar right now. Oh, you can actually see it. That's cool. That'll be middle of next week, about where it becomes extremely likely to break. And where are we on price action at that time? Somewhere around here as well. Actually, on price action itself, it's just a little bit earlier than that, maybe around 24th to 25th of May. Very likely to actually break this, whether it be to the upside or the downside. And this in the bottom side support trend line will naturally crawl up as time goes on, just like the top side resistance will come down as time goes on as well. And that means that we'd be able to move up those points of action, a little bit more and a little bit closer to price action as time kind of marches on. So I'd be looking for a resolution perhaps sometime around, the time that CMEs open back up on Sunday, between then and like Wednesday of next week of this greater range. I think it's very, very likely. just based upon that. We also do see, or do we see anything else that's of interest? We follow up on the 4-hour jewel sell signal. A lot of people caught this one in the Discord. I want to say massive congratulations. That was awesome. I didn't take this one myself. Obviously, I was playing a different position, but you know, pretty damn good one right here. Although this, you know, these are not the signals that I take. Mornfall is a lot more aggressive than me. He was sounding the horns, I suppose. But again, you know, I do think, to answer the question that I see a lot in the Discord, you know, has the signal played out? I think it's very relevant to say that that signal is mostly played out. It's a $1,000 move from 9,800 down to 8,800-ish region. So I do think that you know is very relevant to say that. The 12-hour also kind of lined up for its own, which the 12-hour does make me think that we could have a little bit more here. But to answer, you know, the next biggest question that I typically get in, you know, would I be looking for a bounce somewhere around here? Well, actually, yes, because we do have this nice trend line forming. So maybe another tick or two if we hit this trend line, and I'd be looking for a bounce there. And then the real question after that is, does it line up for another perfect sell signal? If it lines up for another perfect sell signal, that's very likely going to be the impetus for heading back down to about 7,100-ish region, I would say. At the very least, 7,500. By the same token, if you see it overshoot and not align perfectly, that's probably going to come with a breakage of the major area to the upside. So right here, I really don't care what most indicators are saying, because price action levels are so clearly well defined. I'd rather wait for that, but indicators are going to give a little bit of an advance notice. Of course, it is worth saying that 12-hour Stokes and momentum oscillators are pointed south still. We do have this lovely trend line coming in down from here that we've been watching that will get tested likely on the next tick or two. You know, at least at the most 2 ticks, but probably 1 tick at the very least. And that's going to be coming around the edge of the bearish control zone, which typically does provide some counter trend pressure, you know, just by the nature of it. A lot of bots and algos programmed to respect that. And what do you know, on 12-hour historical volatility percentile, we are incredibly low as well. So this is set to expand and setting up for a big bad expansion phase. I think any time around here is extremely likely. And when we're looking at 12-hour, you know, it is a higher time frame, so it actually does, you know, it looks very, very soon actually. And also on the 12-hour, we do have hidden bullish divergence could formulate here. Has it formed just yet? No, absolutely not. This is not a confirmed low. How would we confirm a low right here? Well, I do believe going down to the 4-hour and looking at this area, lining up with that next sort of liquid zone that I have plotted between about 9,100 and 9,150. If Bitcoin does start to close 4-hour dildos within there, or especially above 9,150, it very likely will confirm as a higher low. That's going to cause hidden bullish divergence on the 12-hour RSI, and I would be looking for a move all the way back up to 97, maybe even 9,800, and set it up for another potential breakout to the upside. I don't think that this is over just yet if this does set in a higher low right here. I actually do think that it can reaccumulate and be fine. From a major moving average perspective, it's still, you know, it's still got a lot of things going for it. Golden cross on the 12-hour, golden cross on the daily. What's up, Raminta? Good to meet you. Good having you here as well. Welcome to the cave. Hello, sir, or ma'am, or fairykin, or whatever it might be. Looking at the daily, golden cross here as well, getting divergence, although weakening a little bit, so it's under its first pressure here. Did lose a 21 yesterday. To be fair, you can make a good case for both sides. 2 days, same thing. Golden cross right here. Major moving average getting more and more divergence away from each other, even with that last move to the downside. And the 3-day really shows all. The 3-day really is very sombering. Any sort of a move below 8,600, this last local low right here. I shouldn't say any sort of move, but certainly any sort of a closure on this type of time frame below that level, extremely likely we're going to head back down to 71, 7,200-ish region. I strongly believe that. At the very least, 75, 7,600, probably 71 to 7,200 though is where I'd be looking for. And momentum oscillators on these higher term timeframes are pointed south. You know, keep this in mind. Three-day Stokes down, 2-day Stokes down, although snaking around, and daily Stokes are down as well. However, what would cause these guys to move back up? Yeah, daily back above 95 looks good. 2-day back above 93 and 93.75 looks good. 3-day back above 9,800 looks good. So remember, 9,800 is that key critical area for that next major move to the upside, at the very least for $700. 10.5 is where I'd be looking towards, and then potential extension to 11.5, which I think is probably damn likely to happen if that were to get initiated in the first place. But as long as we are caught below, especially even to the lowest level of that, which I believe was 93.75, which is kind of in line with that 9,300-ish region, correlated with the short term, then momentum as long as we're below them, there is a major concern of breaking to the downside, of course. However, if Bitcoin can regain it, I do think that it is going to, at the very least, retest this area right here, right around the 9,800 or 97 to 9,800 region, and then that's going to look pretty damn good. We're going to have a higher low and just going to look like a consolidation at a high level. I think also working in the bulls' favor here is the fact that traditional markets look to be doing something very similar. I know a lot of people are getting very bearish on this right now. This is NAS futures, and yes, that was a short-term top right there. We did pretty much hit our $9,600 target, which looks good. But again, this is an uptrend. I mean, it can come all the way back down to 90.50, and that's completely fine. It's not until we really start to take out this low right here at about 88.50 where it becomes problematic from a trend perspective. And the trend will be your friend if you just let it be. And right now, momentum also is still pointed north. And actually, I look at this as a good read right there. Daily RSI is interesting. Not really giving us any anything more than that. Daily historic volatility percentile still looks to be contracting to me, and we still probably have a ways to go on this one. Yeah, and what do you know? It's kind of coming in at the same area that Bitcoin's apex was as well. Early June, late May, essentially, a little bit later than Bitcoin. So perhaps Bitcoin does move a little bit first here, but overall, it's the weekly closure that I'd be looking at right now because that's what's going on. And you know what? If I feel like this could be made relatively simple here, not really having to do all that much with it. If NAS futures close this week, which closes today, below 9,200, I would be looking for a pullback, pretty much all the way down, probably all the way down to the 21 exponential moving average overall. But assuming that doesn't happen, which I actually don't think that that's what's happening here, but if it did happen, we have to obviously plan for that, or at least this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor for anything or anyone besides myself, and I'm not even my own financial advisor. I just trade for myself. That's all. But especially if this thing closes back above 93.50, I would be looking for this to continue upwards and onwards over the next few weeks. Momentum also is still looking fine to me here. Weekly Stokes good. Weekly RSI good. I don't really see any major issues with that. And again, daily trend still is being your friend. Just have to let it be. So does it come a little bit lower here and test maybe around like 91.20, 91.50? I think that's quite possible. But as long as as long as it finds a low there, that's just another higher low. So I would be respective of the long-term trend. Also with E-mini futures for SPY, looking a little bit more like a consolidation at a high level as well, below the 200 simple, and actually losing the 200 exponential moving average last night as well. But same thing here. I'm just not bearish on something that's in an uptrend, and as long as it's protecting that, which is 28.50, I think that's fine. However, if it did lose 28.50, I would look for a big bad retracement all the way back down to the low 270 region. But for right now, I'd be respective of the trend. We do see that momentum oscillator is still pointed north, still looking okay. Daily RSI is a little bit more under pressure, has some bearish divergence in there. So I do think that it will pull back a little bit more here. But is it just going to set in a higher low somewhere down around about 290? I think that's very possible. Again, I don't really get bearish until we actually destroy the higher low structure. Just keep it simple here, and same thing on historical volatility percentile as we saw on NAS and even Bitcoin. Still contracting, probably can visualize a nice apex coming in somewhere here. So still a little bit, a little bit of ways from that. Let's see what the weekly looks like. Yeah, the weekly is a little bit more under pressure here than, of course, NAS is, because NAS just seems to be the strongest one. Just the one to rule them all. But basically, if it were to close this week anywhere above, let's call it what is this area right here, 29.30, 29.50ish region, I would be looking for continuation in the next weeks. If it closes, especially below 2,900, then yes, I would be looking for a pullback, probably back down to our 200 base, down around the low 270s, upper 260s, something like that. So I do think that a lot's going to be revealed with this weekly close, and that probably translates well into Bitcoin as well. These markets have been moving together for, for the last 10 years, as long as Bitcoin's been alive, as far as the macro goes. On a day-to-day basis, on a second-by-second basis, no, obviously not, but that's not what macro correlation is about. Anyways, let's go check out gold. What's gold doing? Gold potentially putting in a top this weekend or this week. Still same thing here though. Trend is still your friend, still to the upside, and I don't really get bearish on this one or thinking that the immediate rally is over until I see a daily close below at least 1710. If that were to happen, then yes, I would look for a move back down towards 1680. And then we'll come back and reassess there if like if the party's over. Higher term time frames do look like they're kind of in an area that would be good for a pullback. I'll still stick with what I said yesterday. I want to see the weekly close on this one first before saying anything else. To me, it looks like it's going to actually pop back up here at 1750. If it were to close the weekly there, that would look pretty damn good for continuation coming into the next week. But like I said, we'll come back tomorrow after we get the weekly close. That should reveal a lot of things about this one. Let's go check out some of the top shitcoins. I mean, highly sophisticated and altruistic altcoins. Mr. Buterol, Golden Cross, still using the 55 to rally off of. Needs to hold this area right here though. If it even just closes below the 192 region, which by the way, we did say that it was going to come back down to this region if it did lose yesterday's low, and actually did happen. So quite nice there. Actually, Buterol was the easier chart to read yesterday. In hindsight, of course, it doesn't really help right now, I suppose. But if it were to even just close below the 55, I would be looking for a big bad retracement back down to the 170 region, probably even lower than that over time. Weekly still looks okay here, but with 2 days to closure to go, with likely a lot to be revealed by today's closure, need to see it close back up above about 205 for the immediate hopes to stay alive, in my opinion. Litecoin looks like absolute dog shit. I mean, she's lovely, and she's definitely not a fat, ugly bitch. No, just kidding. That's terrible things to say. I mean, it's a terrible chart, but it's going to do whatever Bitcoin does, as typically most altcoins do. Maybe Link will be doing some different, perhaps. Let's go check it out. That's the one altcoin to rule them all. And what is it used for? It's used to link up other altcoins, I think, or at least that's what I'd guess. I don't know what it's used for, really. Historical volatility percentile incredibly low. It is geared up for a big move here soon. I would say it's either coming back down to 290 or going back up to 490. Sooner rather than later as well, like probably in this next week. Daily Jewel is kind of lining up for a sell right there. Daily Stokes looking fine. Daily RSI looking actually a little bit bearish divergence there, but I don't think that is too problematic, especially as long as it's above yesterday's low, which is 372.5. What does a weekly look like though? Yeah, I want to see I really want to see the weekly closes for a lot of these alts here. I just don't think that is too enlightening to look at them where they are right now. You know, if this one were to close at like 3.75, I'd probably be looking for a pullback down to low $3, and perhaps that sets it up for the longer term move that we just postulated on the daily down to 2.5, or what was it, 280. By the same token, to the upside. Yeah, I'd still think around $5 actually. But this one can be an outlier. Let's go look at a lower term time frame. I mean, it's still just right in the 4-hour 200 simple. I think that's a very good pivot point. So, you know, as long as we're closing 4-hour dildos above, let's call it 3.75, I still would go with the upside. But very much caution below there. Very much caution. As soon as you lose that, I'd be looking for a quick move down to 3.5, and then probably an anemic bounce, and then continuation longer term, just based off historical volatility percentile, down below $3 again, actually. But still, even long term, it'd still be fine. I mean, the weekly trend is still to the upside. One of the few coins in this market that actually does have a weekly uptrend, but I would be looking for it to come back down quite significantly if that were to happen, and probably try a bounce somewhere in the mid 2s, upper 2s. Okay, all right. What else do we want to look at? Shit, am I even recording at this point? I don't know. My OBS is frozen, so I don't know if this is actually even working right now. Might just be very frustrated at the end of this video. We'll go check out GBTC before that. GBTC, just coming back down, testing the 200 simple. I do want to see a golden cross here, though, if this is going to still work its way upwards and onwards. And in order to get that, we need to maintain closures above the 21 right now, which is 1033-ish region. Anyways, we'll go back to spot price action right here. And let's just go over the critical areas once again. So macro area actually or I shouldn't say macro area. Macro area is below like 7,100, but long-term area, which is very likely to propel some $1,000 plus moves, is relatively close to price action right now. 8,700, or sorry, let's be, I'd err on the side of caution here, 8,600. If Bitcoin does break 8,600 to the downside, especially on a 12-hour or daily total closure, I would be looking for, I'd be looking for an overall move at the very least 75, probably all the way down to 71 though, overall, with bounces probably at 8,150 and 7,500, and yeah, then 71 on the short and medium time frames. However, if Bitcoin can even just regain 9,100 or sorry, 9,150-ish region, maybe is a better, more conservative area, I would look for a quick move back up to about 93. However, 93 is actually the more interesting area right now, because if Bitcoin does retake 93, it will not only confirm a local low right here, even on like a 12-hour and a daily, but I would be looking for Bitcoin to then play out hidden bullish divergence, which we noticed on, I believe it was a 12-hour, probably brings us back up to the top side of the range at about 97 or 9,800-ish region. So I do think that that would be very, very tradable. And then that also sets it up for potentially a major massive breakout, which I then would look for a move above, if we get a 12-hour closing above 9,800 or a 4-hour closing above 10,000, I'd look for extension to 10.5. And probably a short-term pullback there. But assuming that Bitcoin can actually retake it, I'd look for extension to do 11.5 after that. I think that's going to be a damn good place to leave off this video. Wait, no, let's look at probabilities. Jesus Christ, man. It's like half the reason why people even come here. We'll do 86 to the downside. I would like to err on the side of caution here, and we'll do 93 to the upside, even though the very short-term range is obviously at 91.50, much lower than that. But I do want to see what this looks like right here. Okay, so first thing that I noticed on the daily is all the rings are squeezed into the downside, by the way. However, we do have a better upside target probability, 9,300 versus 8,600. So remember yesterday when the probabilities did shift in the downside favor, now they've actually shifted back into the upside favor, because above 9,300, that very likely will initiate hidden bullish divergence, and I would be looking for a weekend move back up to like 9,800 or so, or something like that. But by the same token, to the downside, 8,600 is 16.17%. That's decently high, so it is certainly within the realm of possibility. And if bears want to take over, they can do it right here, right now, and it would be pretty damn nasty, and quite a surprise for, I think, a lot of people out there. On top of that, we do see, or sorry, if we go down to a 12-hour, I'm curious what the probabilities are here. This is showing the next 12-hour closure, by the way, in 5 hours and 31 minutes and 51 seconds, and that would be 23.25% versus 7.5% for those same areas. So I actually do think that I do think that Bitcoin's going to pop back up here, set in a higher low, and play out the range a little bit longer. But it's still the 9.8 level or the 8.6 level on a higher term time frame closure, which is going to propel that next big move, in my opinion. And then, of course, it is very much worthwhile to be looking at the weekly right now, seeing as we are going to see CMEs close for the weekly today. And as far as it is right now, the weekly is actually still fine. Just kind of come back down and filled the last candle body. It's filled the last candle body, and major movement averages are switching into a bullish perspective here as well. I think I'll finish off with this because I actually do put a shit ton of weight on this. And at the end of the day, the yellow 21 exponential moving average has been so powerful on the weekly for Bitcoin since the eternity of eternity. Anytime the Bitcoin's above it, generally bullish. Now, if Bitcoin is above it and the 21 also has a positive slope, it's keeping you in these very long-term moves as well. You see it starts over here in 2012 at around $5. It tells you to stay in Bitcoin even at this $90, or sorry, at this $90 price point right here after like a 70% dump. I mean, obviously for the long term, that's good. If you're a short-term trader, that'd be terrible. But when we're looking at a weekly, we're looking at long-term for Bitcoin. And then it doesn't tell you to get out until, Bitcoin's made it into like the 4 digits, 1100 right on over here, like another year later. And then same thing back on over here. Bitcoin gets above it, maintains a positive slope, keeps you in this move the whole way through from 300 to 20,000, and also for the downside moves as well. It just works the same on the other side. Well, more importantly, right now we do see that Bitcoin is not only above it, but it does have a positive slope, and Bitcoin's tested it a couple times. I do still err on the side of bullishness here, but my opinion of price action is just not important, or as important, or it's not important at all. What's important is a technical analysis. So I'll put also on the 55. Of course, we do have a bullish cross between these two as well. And I would say that anytime that we've had that in Bitcoin's history, I think it speaks for itself, giving you a 2x move almost from 7,000 to 14,000 right here, giving you the whole move from $300 to $20,000 right there, and then going back to the Genesis, the same sort of logic applies there as well. So yeah, that's essentially what I'm looking at right now. Should be an interesting next week, and we'll see where this weekly closes, especially for CMEs. If CMEs close back above like 9,300, I'd say that would look overall good for the higher low structure. And also you could look at this as a retest of our long-term descending trend line. I don't know why I must have made this on maybe linear. Yeah, I made this on linear, and we're retesting the trend line right now on the linear scale, coming in from the $14,000 high, the $10,500 high, and we are right now, which I guess we'll be able to see that one at the end of the day. So with that said, I'd like to wish you well. I'd like to wish you the best and the happiest once again. I will not be on Twitch today, but I perhaps could be on tomorrow. I've figured out my computer, I think, as much as I can, and perhaps Elsa will be on today. So I'll be signing off now. Take care, and until next time.